Quote, a previously undisclosed whistleblower report on Hegseth's tenure as the president of Concerned Veterans for America from 2013 until 2016 describes him as being repeatedly intoxicated while acting in his official capacity, to the point of needing to be carried out of the organization's events. The detailed 7-page report, which was compiled by multiple former CVA employees and sent to the organization's senior management in February of 2015, states that at one point, Hegseth had to be restrained while drunk from joining the dancers on the stage of a Louisiana strip club where he had brought his team. The report also says that Hegseth, who was married at the time, and other members of his management team sexually pursued the organization's female staffers, whom they've divided into two groups: the party girls and the not party girls. In addition, the report asserts that under Hegseth's leadership, the organization became a hostile workplace that ignored serious accusations of impropriety, including an allegation made by a female employee that another employee on Hegseth's staff had attempted to sexually assault her at the Louisiana strip club. In a separate letter of complaint, which was sent to the organization in late 2015, a different former employee described Hegseth being at a bar in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2015, while at an official tour through Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, drunkenly chanting, "Kill all Muslims, kill all Muslims."
Everyone knew how unqualified Pete Hegseth was to be defense secretary under Donald Trump the moment that he nominated him. But the tidal wave of drunken sexual deviancy that's come out since then should convince the two people left that didn't know. And that's before most people knew about his mismanagement of funds.
But wait, there's more in this story. According to Jane Mayer's reporting, Hegseth wasn't exactly a star manager. As the head of the nonprofit group Veterans for Freedom, he racked up $430,000 in unpaid bills, in addition to as much as $75,000 in credit card debts. As one strategist who worked for the group at the time emphasized, the VFF was an exceedingly small organization with fewer than 10 employees and a budget of between $5 million and $10 million. The strategist went on to say, quote, Hegseth couldn't do that properly. I don't know how he's going to run an organization with an $857 billion budget and 3 million individuals. I don't know either. Now, Hegseth's next stop, leading the nonprofit Concerned Veterans for America, didn't go much better. In an email, one of the whistleblowers that contributed to a report on Hegseth stated that he treated the organization of funds like they were a personal expense account for partying, drinking, and using CVA events as little more than opportunities to hook up with women on the road.
So in case anyone wants to dismiss his creepy encounters based on the fact that the president-elect has his own issues with keeping his hands to himself, the fiscally responsible crowd that's been convinced that Republicans actually care about that should be taking a second look at Hegseth.
It's believed that Bondi is easier to confirm than Gates, but Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth could be a problem. He faces questions about his personal conduct.
We are talking with every senator that wants to talk to us, and the conversations we have with senators are, of course, going to remain private.
Hegseth met with Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. Tuberville would not address controversies surrounding Hegseth.
We need somebody to straighten the military out, to get the woke, the DEI affiliation out, and go from there.
It's no surprise that Pete was able to convince Coach Tuberville that nothing else matters except for the boogeyman of diversity that exists in their minds. But as the dominoes start to fall, even some of the most diehard conservatives aren't comfortable with Hegseth's actions.
Those of you familiar with my work, starting with high crimes and misdemeanors, know that I very strongly believe that, yes, our leaders, and particularly our president, absolutely need to have character. What I've found strange, and continue to find strange, about the attacks on Trump's defense secretary, proposed nominee, Pete Hegseth, also his main qualification, a weekend host on Fox News, is there's all this, did he assault this woman in the hotel or didn't he? Was it consensual and she didn't want her husband to know? So 4 days later, she cried rape. Yes, that happens a lot. But in all of this talk about whether Pete Hegseth is an abuser of women, It just, no one even mentioned that she is a serial adulterer.
In true Ann Coulter form, she's not interested in the consensual portion of Pete Hegseth's drunken encounters because women lie, in her words, a lot. But she's looking to remind Republicans about their long discarded veil of being committed to their wives and being family-oriented. You'd assume her support would have been gone back when Trump gave the party permission to celebrate sexual assault and cheating simply because he was the culprit. But she wasn't done with Pete.
Adultery hasn't even been mentioned, and Pete Hegseth is well known to have now been married on his third marriage. Gets married, gets his wife pregnant, little kids at home, or kid at home, I don't know the details, starts having sex with his producer, dumps his first wife, marries his producer, gets her pregnant. Again, she's either pregnant or she's home with kid or kids, and then commits adultery on her, dumps the second wife, and now I guess is, let's hope, happily married to his third wife. The fact that it was 3 times and this sleazy and everyone at Fox News knew about it is one thing, but seriously, does no one is even mentioning the adultery. I'm sorry, this is liberals winning. This is liberals changing our culture in this subtle and insidious way where the only rules that matter are the feminist rules, not the rules that have protected women for millennia, like don't cheat on your wife, but believe the women. Was it consensual or not? No, I don't care if it's consensual. It wasn't consensual to the wife who was married to Pete Hegseth.
It's no surprise that at the end of it all, it's still the liberals' fault for Pete Hegseth's decision to be a drunken frat boy that sleeps from one marriage to another. But at least his defenders can't claim that a few conservatives don't care anymore about their supposed reverence for fidelity.
Was the Trump transition aware of this information about Pete Hegseth's past? And are there any concerns inside the transition about it?
Well, so when it comes to Pete Hegseth, there aren't any concerns, and we feel very good about his positioning for being confirmed by the Senate. But we need to be clear here. Again, when I say it was innuendo and gossip, it was written by a disgruntled former employee. And so again, this was not some legal finding or something in the court of law. This was a former employee who was very much
it was
very much
extensive.
did not
It was
like
an extensive actual report that it was used to remove him from his post. It was not a single allegation or anonymous employee who was upset.
Again, I would take issue with the characterization of that. I would say that this, again, was a disgruntled former employee full of innuendo and gossip.
You know, it's kind of crazy that Jason Miller was sent on the media tour to defend Hegseth when his only talking point is easily dismantled, leaving him with no other option but to falsely repeat it was a disgruntled employee. It shows this new administration learned the lesson that their excuses don't need to make any sense because their supporters just don't care. He was only trying to get back to the practice lines about how great Hegseth is.
Again, let's talk about Pete Hegseth's bio for a moment. Someone, a 2-time Bronze Star recipient who served in combat, who's been in Iraq and Afghanistan.
No one's disputing his service record. I'm not saying that. The question is he qualified to run the most lethal fighting force with like $1 trillion+ budget or not?
Yes.
And this report seems to suggest he might not be.
No, and I would disagree with that. And again, this is why you've seen so many senators come out and say that they've been impressed by Pete Hegseth in his meetings, and they do think that he's the type of person to lead that mission under President Trump. And I want to go one other thing. Pete Hegseth is someone who's been shot at in combat. That's exactly the type of person that we want leading the DOD before any commitment is made to put our troops in harm's way.
Yeah, who cares if Pete Hegseth parties like a drunken pirate, throwing taxpayer money around and running up bills that he has no idea how to pay? Did you know that he was shot at? Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume previous defense secretaries had been shot at before. You know, but one last moment from Jason Miller, because he took his Hegseth sanitizing tour to more friendly airwaves, where he ran through the same talking points while Brian Kilmeade revealed that he cares more about his buddy Pete than the safety and security of the country.
I think the volume of some of the personal attacks on some of the nominees are stunning, including our buddy Pete Hegseth, who wrote a book about the Pentagon, served 20 years in the military, has been decorated, chose the infantry after Ivy League education. You've seen what he's able to accomplish for veterans. But does the volume of the attack surprise you? And does it make the president waver or wonder?
No, there's a reason why President Trump picked Pete Hegseth to lead the DOD. Two-time Bronze Star recipient, someone who served in combat in Iraq and in Afghanistan. As you said, Ivy League pedigree. You want someone there leading the DOD who has served in combat, who knows what it's like to be shot at.